The title of this talk was suggested to me by Elizabeth Campion of this parish. Inspired by Neil MacGregor's Radio 4 series and book, A History of the World in 100 Objects, describing exhibits from the British Museum and setting them in their historical and anthropological context. Apologies to anyone who was expecting a discussion of 100 objects in 5 minutes. But I hope to have a quick look at the significance of material culture in the Arches. The first use of the term material culture has been traced back to the splendidly named Augustus Henry Lane Fox Pitt-Rivers, whose collection of archaeological and ethnographic objects formed the basis of the Pitt-Rivers Museum in Oxford, first opened to visitors in 1887. Pitt-Rivers wrote that his readers should consider material culture as the outward signs and symbols of particular ideas of the mind. If you've been to the Pitt-Rivers Museum, you'll know that he collected everyday artefacts as well as fine art items, and that these are arranged by category rather than by country or historical period. Since the mid-1970s, there's been a growing interest in material culture across many disciplines, most obviously history, but also archaeology, social anthropology, history of art, human geography, design, and the decorative arts. My personal interest arose from volunteering with the David Parr House in Cambridge. This is a tiny terrace cottage which David Parr, a working-class Victorian artist-decorator, bought in 1886 and lived in until his death in 1927. Over that time, he decorated the house in the style of the Victorian Gothic Revival churches and arts and crafts houses he worked on every day as an employee of the Cambridge Decorative Arts Company F.R. Leach & Sons, who worked all over the country with well-known designers, including William Morris. After Parr's death in 1927, his granddaughter Elsie, then aged 12, came to live in the house to keep her grandmother company and stayed there for the next 85 years, during which time she married and had 2 daughters. Because of Elsie's respect for her grandfather's legacy, very few changes were made to the structure or decor of the house while she lived there, but she accumulated a collection of her own artefacts, and over the course of 2018, a team of volunteers, including me, examined and catalogued these, along with objects from David Parr's time. For me, the charm of the house lies in the layers of history of the rooms and their inhabitants, illustrated by the variety of functional and emotional significance of all these objects. Here are just 3 of my favourites, coming up, not these ones, from different periods in the life of the house. A set of dominoes, possibly made by David Parr himself, and therefore late 19th or early 20th century. A time without TV or the internet, people had to entertain themselves with cards, books, and other games. A book in the school story genre, presented to Elsie as a Sunday school prize in 1929. Clearly a treasured item, it not only still has its original dust jacket, but has been given additional protection with a brown paper cover, an inside-out paper bag from Eden Lily, once a well-known Cambridge department store no longer in existence, showing pictures of ladies in the fashions of the time. And the last one, a wooden school ruler belonging to one of Elsie's daughters, dated to the 1960s, partly because I know she's about my own age, and partly because of Cliff, written multiple times in biro on the flat side of the ruler. And so to Ambridge. What items will future historians or archaeologists pore over, analysing the way of life and family relationships of this village community? Here are some suggestions. I'm sure you can add many others. I've already heard some, and I look forward to hearing more later. The power of objects to bring back memories has been illustrated recently in the story of the Aldridge's departure from home farm. Debbie retrieving her old jewellery box with the ballerina that doesn't stand up anymore, and what could that possibly symbolise? Jennifer and Peggy reminiscing about evenings spent with all the family gathered on the old sofa in the farmhouse kitchen. Similarly, when Lily and Rex were decorating the Christmas tree at Lower Loxley, Lily's memories of past Christmases were stirred by the homemade tree ornaments. I suggest this one might have been done by Freddie. What will historians make of a shoebox in the bottom of a wardrobe at Brookfield containing model farm animals, with David Archer, My Farm in childish handwriting on the lid? Will they know that David's discovery of this collection years later and the emotions it aroused were responsible for his decision not to move to Northumberland, thereby averting a crisis in the Ambridge social network? In the grounds of Ambridge Hall, archaeologists might uncover a large stone bearing the inscription Resurgam. Here it is, with Ed. No, not that Ed. The experts may speculate that it could be a monument commemorating the successful revival of the Canterbury Tales, performed under the direction of Mrs. Linda Snell in December 2018, but we know better. And finally, let's hope that future archaeological or historical investigations will solve an ongoing mystery. When a grubby collection of rags attached to a length of string is identified as a 20th or 21st century decorative artefact known as Bunting. This will be found stuffed behind a chest of drawers in a house formerly owned by a family who've requested anonymity. I suggest you ask the people wearing the I Stole the Bunting t-shirts. Thank you.
All right.